I never set out to be a minimalist. I'm just a mom in her 30s who got tired of feeling so overwhelmed by the clutter and stressed by the never-ending housework. I started decluttering seriously almost 3 years ago, and it's changed my life. My home is much more minimal than it used to be, and it's these tiny minimalism rules I've tried that have made a huge difference. This is not about being perfect or being strict, but I think these little rules and methods can really help you change your home and your life. So take what's useful for you from this list. The 20-second rule. This is a rule from the book The Happiness Advantage by Sean Achor. Am I pronouncing that right? When we want to change something about our homes or our lives, what we need to look at is the habits behind those things. The 20-second rule is where we try to eliminate the number of steps between us and the good habit, and we try to add more steps in between us and a bad habit. This has been life-changing for me because it really opened my eye to how making it really convenient to do the things that I want to do, the good habits that I want to follow, it actually makes things so much easier, and I don't have to rely so much on that discipline or that willpower, because especially when you're a busy mom or a tired mom, maybe you haven't slept through the night, your willpower and your discipline levels are going to be this low. And so that's something I can't really rely on some days. But this method really helped me kind of flip a switch in my brain. So I notice for myself, if I'm trying to reduce drinking Pepsi or, having junk food or things like that, if I have it in the house, I am almost certain that I'm going to eat that, especially on the days where I feel low or I'm, kind of low mood or low energy. That's when my willpower will be at a zero and I will just resort to those things. Whereas if I just don't have them in the house, then the number of steps in between me and having that junk food is greatly increased, right? Because I would need to physically go to the shop to buy that junk food. So I know this is such a basic thing, but it really helps. If it's not in my house, I'm not going to eat it. And we can apply this to so many things that we want to achieve in our lives. So if I can make setting up to film a YouTube video that much easier, so, simplifying that process and not make it take too long, then I'm much more likely to actually do it. If I'm trying to tidy and keep a clutter-free house and I already have those little systems in place, like I already have the bins and I know where everything goes, then I'm reducing the number of steps between me and actually tidying my house, because it only takes a few minutes to do that. I already know where everything goes. And so when I simplified things like this, it honestly improved so many different areas of my life. Putting my phone away more is something that's actually very hard to do. And I think for a lot of us, we do get very used to having that phone with us all the time. And it's something we rely on every single time we get bored or, when we have time to kill. And I know for myself, if I'm waiting in the car for my kids to come out of school, I am very likely to go on my phone. And I have started realizing more and more how much it's kind of affecting my mood, my motivation, and I am just trying to put it away more. I don't want to be on my phone that much, and it's hard. And maybe I'll let you know along the way if I learn any tricks that really help me do this. But just being aware of the fact that getting my phone out and scrolling for 30 minutes means my dopamine is gonna spike and then instantly crash very, very low after I put my phone down, making me feel even worse than when I first started scrolling. I learned that in the Dose book by TJ Power, and that's something that's really opened my eye, how much I actually go on my phone. And putting my phone down is even harder because social media is my job. This is what I do. I do think there's a difference between scrolling with intention, getting content ideas or seeing what's trending, what's working on social media, versus just scrolling for the sake of scrolling. The North Rule is one of my favorites because it's so simple to remember, and it's something I try to do throughout the day, and it's something that's kind of rubbed off on other family members. Whenever I go north, I bring something that belongs north with me. What does that even mean? If I'm in the living room and I'm now going to the kitchen, I'm gonna look around and see, are there any bottles that need to be taken to the kitchen? Are there any mugs, any rubbish that needs to be taken to the bin? If I'm going upstairs, I will look around to see if there are, pajamas from this morning that need to be taken upstairs. Things like that. It doesn't sound like much, but when you start doing this consistently and you do it throughout the day, it kind of becomes a bit second nature. I don't even think about it that much. I just do it. And what it means is that things don't pile up. Yes, there will be messes, but because we do this constantly throughout the day, it means things generally don't get too overwhelming. Upgrade less. This is very hard to do these days because you do see a lot of people upgrading their stuff, whether it's their phone, their car, a new MacBook. It can feel feel like if you're not doing that, you are behind or you're not doing great in life, where in reality, that is just not true. I know recently there was that new iPhone that came out, didn't it? And I think especially as a content creator, I did start having these thoughts of, should I upgrade? Does that make me less of a content creator if I don't have the latest one? And then I realized that is so silly. I do not need the new iPhone or the newest technology to create videos. Yes, there's a time and place for upgrading when you do have the budget or, when you're ready for it, but I don't feel like it's necessary. I used to create all of my Instagram videos on an old iPhone. It was one of those iPhones XS. Wait, no, that's a clothing size. iPhone SE, and that old iPhone got me to over 100k Instagram followers. I did upgrade at some point, but it wasn't the latest iPhone. It was one a few generations ago, just because there were a few features I wanted, like the wide angle shot. I also have my MacBook that I'm editing all of my videos on and creating all of my content on. That is like 8 years old maybe. It still works fine, so unless it actually broke and it doesn't work anymore, I'm gonna keep using it. And I think upgrading for the sake of upgrading is just not needed. It can be a waste of money, and we can use that money in a better way that actually helps us reach those financial goals that we have for ourselves. Go digital with paperwork. This is something we started doing because we wanted to avoid a whole bunch of junk mail coming into our home. And I know bills are not technically junk mail, but it kind of accumulates. And so we want to reduce that paperwork as much as possible. We switched to digital bills, and I think we very rarely do we get a bill in the mail. For the most part, it's all online. And I think none of us really need that bill in a physical copy, do we? That can be such a simple thing that just reduces the paperwork, because otherwise it can really accumulate in our home. The 2-minute rule is something I really love as well. If there's a task I see that takes less than 2 minutes to do, I will try my best to do it right then and there. If it's, a birthday invite that I want to reply to, I'm gonna try to reply straight away. It does not take me 2 minutes to do, and that means I can, tick that off my list. I don't have to put it in the mental backlog and have it kind of clutter up brain space, if you know what I mean. I think if you're a mom, there are so many different tasks throughout the day that can accumulate. They can make us feel more overwhelmed. And so doing this little 2-minute rule can be so helpful for that. Work your dopamine muscle. I was reading the Dose book and I noticed how it mentions a lot anterior cortex. I think it's the AMCC. So it's this little part of our brain. When we do something that raises our dopamine, like when we do an activity that requires motivation, then it lights up this part of our brain. It's just like a muscle. The more that we do this, the more that part of the brain lights up, the stronger it gets. And that means it's going to be so much easier to feel motivated to do things. And sometimes we think, oh, there's just people who are motivated, people who are not. But in reality, if we work on exercising that muscle, that AMCC, it's just going to get stronger and we're going to be much more motivated people, not just one area like going to the gym or something like that, but in a lot of different areas of our life. And things like scrolling on our phone a lot actually is something that decreases that motivation. It decreases that dopamine. And I think for me, it's really important to find that balance. So yes, I might be scrolling on my phone, but I want to have a lot of activities throughout my day that actually improve my dopamine. They increase my motivation in a balanced way. Things like working out or working on a video or working on a project that's maybe a little bit effortful, or even reading a book. All of those things are activities that can raise your dopamine levels. When it comes to clutter or things in our home, give it a spot and optimize later is something that I've been trying to do, because when things don't have a spot, it can be really tempting to think, well, I'm not going to tackle this clutter yet because I need to have that perfect spot in mind for it to go in. And doing this means we're delaying decisions, and clutter is just delayed decisions that are just lingering around our home until we actually decide what to do with them or where to put them. So when I just started decluttering and things were kind of a mess, I didn't have a system where everything went yet. I just started finding a home for it, even if it was not perfect, even if maybe it wasn't the end goal that I had for it. Just find somewhere to put them. Just find a place for all of those things, in a cupboard, in a drawer, in a closet, wherever it might be. And then afterwards, we can find ways to optimize it, like adding a basket or a bin or something to kind of organize it a bit better. But I found that for me, it was really really important to not let that deter me from actually, tackling the stuff in my home. Wear it today. This is a method that I've been trying to do to declutter my wardrobe. So, those items that are in your maybe pile, what I started doing is I started challenging myself to actually wear the outfit. So I had this stripy jumper. I wasn't sure if I wanted to keep it or not. So I kept it in my maybe pile for quite a while. And then I said, okay, I'm gonna wear it for the day and see why am I not wearing it enough. And when I put it on for the day to wear it, I realized that actually the neckline was a little tight, the length felt a bit off, and that's when I realized, yeah, I do not need to keep this. I can let it go. So if you have items like that you're not sure about, putting them on, actually trying them and wearing them for the day, that's what gives me a much better perspective on, is this an item that I actually like to wear, or is it an item I'm just keeping it because it's there, but it's not really serving any purpose in my wardrobe because I'm clearly not wearing it. Try a low buy month. I did a low buy month about a year ago. It gave me such an interesting perspective on why I shop, the kind of feelings that I get behind that impulse to buy something new. And so this is something I wanted to do a bit more because I realized that one of my dopamine kind of addiction behaviors that I used to have a lot, and sometimes I still do struggle with this, is shopping. Yes, I used to be a bit of a shopaholic. Maybe a bit more than just a bit. And I realized I actually have better financial goals for myself than just having a lot of new outfits in my wardrobe or buying a lot of things that I don't truly need. So I am planning on doing a no buy or low buy month in either January or February next year. Let me know if you would like me to take you along on that. Let me know if you are planning to do any no buy months, because I think that will be really interesting. And maybe we can kind of go through it together, because for me, I do want to do things like pay off my mortgage early or have more experience as a family versus just buying a lot of things that clutter up my home. Do you have any minimalist rules that you've used in the past and have found helpful? Let me know in the comments below. I would really love to hear from you. I hope this was helpful, and I will see you in the next one.